Have you ever wondered why we close our eyes when we sneeze? It's a question that's probably crossed your mind at some point, but have you ever really given it much thought? Well, prepare to be enlightened as we explore the intriguing world of sneezing. Sneezing is not just a simple reflex, it's a complex process involving several parts of our body, primarily our respiratory system. It's a defensive mechanism, a reaction to irritants in our nose or throat. But here's where it gets interesting. As we sneeze, there's a lot of action happening. High pressure builds up in our lungs, mouth, and nasal passages. And guess what? Even our facial muscles get in on the act, tensing up to help expel the air. Among these muscles is the orbicularis oculi muscle, the star player in our eye-closing phenomenon. But what triggers this muscle into action, causing our eyes to shut? Stay tuned as we unravel the mystery behind this fascinating bodily function. So, what happens when we sneeze? Well, let's dive into the science behind it. A sneeze is not as simple as you might think. It's a complex chain reaction that involves several parts of our body, and it all starts with a deep inhalation. Imagine you're about to jump into a pool. You take a big breath in, filling your lungs with air. That's similar to the first step of a sneeze. You see, the body is preparing to launch something. In this case, whatever irritant has invaded your nose. Next comes the sudden contraction of the diaphragm, like a spring being compressed. This contraction is quite forceful, and it's what gives a sneeze its explosive power. The diaphragm, acting like a powerful pump, forcefully pushes air out of the lungs. Just like the rush of water when you jump into a pool, this rapid exhalation sends a gust of air through your body. But it's not just air. It's a cocktail of water droplets, mucus, and of course the unwanted intruders. Now here's where things get interesting. During a sneeze, there's a significant amount of force required to expel this air. This causes high pressure in the lungs, mouth, and nasal passages. It's like the pressure you feel in your ears when you dive deep underwater. But that's not all. Our facial muscles also get involved in this sneezing symphony. They tense up, helping create the pressure needed to expel the air. The star of this facial ensemble is the orbicularis oculi muscle. This little muscle, controlled by both facial muscles and facial nerves, is responsible for closing the eyes. It contracts, like a curtain falling at the end of a performance. So next time you feel a sneeze coming, remember, it's not just a sneeze. It's a symphony of actions involving various parts of your body, all working together to expel those unwanted guests in your nose. As you can see, a lot happens in our bodies during a sneeze, but we haven't even touched on why our eyes close yet. Here's where our eyes come into the sneezing equation. During a sneeze, our body becomes a pressure cooker of sorts. The force required to expel air results in high pressure building up in the lungs, mouth, and nasal passages. Simultaneously, our facial muscles tense up in preparation for the big release. Among these facial muscles, one particularly interesting player is the orbicularis oculi muscle. This muscle is like the gatekeeper of our eyes, responsible for closing them. So, when the pressure builds up, it automatically contracts, leading to the blink or closing of our eyes. But how does the orbicularis oculi muscle know when to act? Well, it's controlled by the facial muscles and facial nerves. Imagine these as the puppet masters, pulling the strings. The moment you start to sneeze, they send a signal to the orbicularis oculi muscle to shut the gates. That is, close your eyes. It's like the body's own version of a coordinated dance, with each part playing its role perfectly. And just as dancers don't consciously think about each step they take, we don't consciously decide to close our eyes when we sneeze. It's an automatic response, a part of the intricate choreography of a sneeze. So next time you sneeze, remember, it's not just a sneeze, it's a performance. So it's not a conscious decision to close our eyes when we sneeze, it's just our body's automatic response. There you have it, the scientific reason why we close our eyes when we're sneezing. It all comes down to a defensive reflex that creates high pressure in our bodies. This pressure leads to the contraction of our facial muscles, including those that control eye closure. It's an intricate ballet of biological responses, all aimed at keeping us healthy. And here's a fun fact to finish off. If someone distracts you just as you're about to sneeze, it can often suppress the sneeze. So, don't interrupt a sneeze. It's a serious business.